All right, so just got some wood resawn at Thomas and Milliken Millworks in Northport, Michigan. Beautiful place, Northport, and they do a great job. So what we do is depending on what we're going to use the wood for, what we do is we take either 6/4, which is 1.5 inches thick, or 5/4, which is 1.25 inches thick. And then we have that resawn, and we don't have a resaw bandsaw. The one that they have is just so efficient and so good, and they're quite expensive and take up a lot of room, and so that's one of the reasons why we don't have one, but they sure are nice and do a great job. So Chris Craft did the same thing as we're doing. They resaw all the wood because it saves a lot of lumber. What you don't want to do is stand behind the planer and chew up a bunch of nice mahogany and make it into shavings, into dust. So the way to be efficient at that is you take a piece of 6/4, say you're going to 1/2 inch planking is where you want to end up as your end mill thickness, and you split that board in half. You come out basically with 2 3/4 inch pieces if the resaw is set up right and the blades are sharp so they don't wander very much, but you come out with about 3/4 inch thickness on each piece. Then you can take that down and mill that down to whatever thickness that you need, and that's the way it's most efficient. Also, what you do with that is you get bookmatch planking, and Chris Craft used bookmatch planking a lot in their boat building, which is just a really smart way of building a boat. That way it works together the same on one side to the other, you know, whether it expands or contracts and the wood moves, it does it equally on both sides is the theory. But so that's something to keep in mind when you're milling up your lumber, to buy it at the appropriate thickness, and then also what you're going to be finished thickness is going to be to have bookmatch planking. Some people say it's a bit overkill to do on the bottom to have bookmatch planking. We don't really care about that too much because obviously it's all going to be painted, but what we do care about is saving lumber, so that's why we do it the way we do it. We buy almost all of our lumber in what's called a bunk form, and that's usually about 1,000 board foot at a time. We usually either buy Philippine mahogany or African mahogany. African mahogany is a little bit cheaper, and if say we're doing a bunch of framework, we don't necessarily have to buy 1.5 inch thick pieces. We can go with 1 inch. But what we do buy, like for framing and that kind of stuff, is we buy 5/4, and 5/4 is 1.25 inches thick, and then we mill that down to say like 15/16, the thickness of a framing. So it really makes a difference when you're choosing the wood of what you're going to use the wood for. Super important, save you some money. LL Johnson, they have great quality wood. You know, there has been some talk in the past of what true red Marante Chris Craft grade was. I doubt that we'll ever see that, or if we really know exactly what species we're getting, you know. Years ago, they used to clear cut forests and just, you know, take every tree. Now they don't do that. That's why if you're working with Honduras, that's why Honduras and genuine mahogany is really hard to get really good clean quality, because they don't clear cut all the trees anymore. I think they've wisened up, and after most of their forests are gone, now they're in a bit of a crisis mode with genuine and Honduras mahogany. One of the reasons I believe Chris Craft used Philippine mahogany is obviously for its rot properties, but you know, they were building race boats back then in the 20s when they were figuring all this thing out, you know, and they knew that lightweight is faster. So Philippine mahogany has great properties for that. It's light, it's very strong, It's got great rot properties, and it looks really good. Its consistency, the color of it, is really consistent from tree to tree, and so that helps. You get into a little bit of discoloration when you're going with genuine mahogany and Honduras, because as the wood ages, even on the boat a year later, all of a sudden you'll see a dark plank, and that dark plank is caused because that piece of wood aged different than the other ones and got some darker color into it. So Philippine red Marante style that we use, which is actually from the cedar family more than it is from a mahogany family, that stuff is pretty true to color through and through from tree to tree. So I think that's pretty much why they use that. So if you enjoy videos like this, a little bit more of me talking, explaining things, and not just building of a boat, but why we do certain things, leave a comment below and let me know if that's something that you want to see more, and I can surely talk about that.